Good morning, evening, whatever it happens to be where you are. Today I'm going to talk about the meaning of life. Not the Monty Python movie, The Meaning of Life, the actual meaning of life. At the risk of sounding incredibly emo, I'm going to say life sucks. And I'm going to mean that. Here goes. Life sucks. I mean it. I'd be lying if I said anything else. And I think that a lot of very happy people are only happy because they have accepted the fact that life sucks and they choose to ignore it. Let me explain. I think that if anyone in the world is suffering, then the world suck level increases, thus decreasing the world non-suck level. While one person starving in the entire world would cause only nominal suck level rises, in a world where millions and millions of people are starving, either through poverty or through choice, we live in a world where hundreds and hundreds of thousands of men and women and children are involved in prostitution. 99% of the world is addicted to something chemical. Drugs and alcohol and tobacco, caffeine and MSG and sugar are all addictions. It's true. We use them to cope, to get through the day. And there are poor people, not just the half of the world that lives on less than $2 a day, not just the people who could potentially be doctors or scientists but don't have the education or even the money to have that kind of education. I'm also talking about the little kid who wears only hand-me-down clothes, the teen who has never been to a concert, the man or woman who has never left the country, anyone who spends their entire life living in one town. Add together all this collective pain and suffering and discomfort, and distributed anything close to evenly across humanity, and what you've got is the equivalent of every single person in the world living a really, really bad life. So why would anyone believe in God? Here's why. Hope. All there is hope, because no one can know beyond a shadow of a doubt, that there is a God. You can know beyond a reasonable doubt, and our entire society is based upon a reasonable doubt. I mean, when a person drives to work on an icy day, they know that there's about a 5% chance that they will not make it to work. When someone signs up for a surgery, and they know it's a risky surgery, say a cancer operation or a heart transplant, they know that there's sometimes a 10% chance that they will not make it out of there alive. When someone gets married, they know that there is a 50% chance that they are lying when they say I do. Our society is based on knowing beyond a reasonable doubt. There is really nothing that we can know beyond the shadow of a doubt. So why is belief in God beyond a reasonable doubt? Again, the answer is hope. When we look at tragedy, when we look at world suck levels, when we watch TV, what we see makes one doubt the order behind the universe. How can life have meaning through this chaos, right? I mean, even if there is no God, existence is meaningless without some kind of order. And observation would lead us to believe that there is some kind of order. Darwin would call it the struggle for survival. A theologian might call it a conscience. But everyone has a voice inside of them that says life should be like this. Everyone wants to be alive. Everyone wants to eat and drink and sleep. Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants to be happy, and everyone wants to have a better life for their offspring. And I would submit that everyone wants to mate for life. And I know that there are lots of people who do not believe this. I would point at that person, and I would say that either they've never been loved, they have been repeatedly heartbroken, or they come from a long line of people, parents, grandparents, friends, who have gone through divorce after divorce after divorce. Everyone who's not either a maniac or an extremist abhors murder, rape, pedophilia. Everyone knows that these things are just wrong. The chaos exists only when humankind causes it to happen. Some would say that natural disasters also cause chaos, and it's true to a point. There's definitely chaos that arises out of a natural disaster, but the result of a natural disaster is never just chaos. When you look at people responding to a natural disaster, like looking at Haiti, sure, there's death that happens, but the response to that is feeding the poor and giving homes to the homeless and giving education to the ignorant, and overall just love being sent to those people. Out of war and massacre and slavery, all we see is more war and more death and more prejudice. And that is mankind being mankind and screwing things up. Humankind has far more to fear from themselves than they have to fear from nature. Nature itself is another reason why order must exist. The food that keeps us alive, our bodies, ourselves, the eye of our body, a single rod of our eye, a single cell of our eye, a single organelle of that cell, and a single atom of that organelle. All of it interlocks and reacts and is made of infinitely tiny things. We're discovering more and more things per atom that react together. The only reason that there's even life on this planet is because the sun is the right size, the earth is the right size, the earth is the right distance, the moon is the right distance. If the moon were significantly closer to the earth than it is, the entire earth would be covered with water. High tide would cover the highest mountain. The only reason that you are here is either through a massive chance or a massive plan. And I'm going with plan. From where I'm sitting, it takes a lot more faith to believe that I am a blip on the timeline of a meaningless universe than it takes for me to believe that I am one of the billions of specific yet meaningful creations of a loving and eternal being. And yes, believing in God means believing that not believing in God means eternal damnation. And some would ask, why in the hell would I want to believe in a God that sends mostly good people to hell for a few mistakes? And what I've come to realize is that God doesn't care what sin we've committed. I mean, he really doesn't. It's all just sin. Adolf Hitler is only as much of a sinner as the most recent overdosed celebrity. Let that sink in for a second. The verse says, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. And the world is not just someone who's made a few mistakes. The world is also Adolf Hitler and Saddam Hussein and Paris Hilton. The world is what we live in. The screwed up people and the mostly good people, all of them are equal. Because when God looks at the world, what he sees is the same thing that we see when we look at the world. Meaninglessness. God is more interested in you choosing to follow him than he could ever possibly be in you choosing to follow the Lakers, or the Beatles, or even the Red Cross. The only cross that he's interested in you following is his cross. He's not interested in you following the Salvation Army. He's only interested in you joining his army. Life sucks, but eternal life, that's something different. And here's a closing thought. After you've excluded God, the search for meaning becomes a lifelong quest. Once you have accepted God, making your life meaning something becomes a lifelong journey.